Welcome back. All right, so as promised, we're going to talk about the Edmonton Oilers' 10-game winning streak, a new franchise record. So whatever they do from here, they've set a new franchise record. And this is a team that's been putting up winning streaks over the last couple of years. We'll talk about it. But I wanted to go back to when it all started in the National Hockey League. So not like WHA, but in the NHL. The Oilers come in 79-80. They had a 28-39-13 record that season. They had a 5-game winning streak during that first season. The following year, still below 500, 29-35-16. They had two 3-game winning streaks, and they achieved a first-round upset that turned a lot of heads. 81-82, 48-17-15 was their record. And after that upset victory in round one of 1981's playoffs, we kind of knew the Oilers were going to do something big. So in 82, they had a 6-game winning streak. The 81-82 season, they had a 6-game winning streak. So that's a new record. 82-83, they go 47-21-12. They had a 6-game winning streak that year as well. 83-84, the first year they won the Stanley Cup, they had a record of 57-18-5. Absolutely ridiculous year. They had 3 8-game winning streaks that season. So did they have a 10-game winning streak? No, but they had 3 8-game winning streaks. 85-86 or 84-85 first, 49-20-11 record. They finished with the Stanley Cup that year too. They had 2 8-game winning streaks. So this year they've had an 8-game winning streak and now a 10-game winning streak. They're putting up the winning streaks like those teams in the 80s did. They just don't have the Stanley Cups to their name at this point. 85-86, they finished 56-17-7. They had a 7-game winning streak that season. 86-87, they finished 50-24-6, their third Stanley Cup that season. They had a 7-game winning streak that year as well. 87-88, 44-25-11 record, and the fourth Stanley Cup in 5 years. They had 2 5-game winning streaks that season. 88-89, 38-34-8, the first year without Wayne Gretzky. They had a 6-game winning streak that season. 89-90, they win their final Stanley Cup, 38-28-14 record. They had a 6-game winning streak that season, and then they got really hot in the playoffs. So the Oilers, not a team that had any winning streaks beyond 8 games, but again, having 3 in the same season, 3 8-game winning streaks, kind of insane. 2019-2020, this is where I feel like the McDavid era has started. They had a 5-game winning streak during the season. They finished 37-25-9 at the time of the pause. 2020-2021, the shortened season where teams are just playing in their own division. 35-19-2 record. They had a 5-game winning streak that season. 2021-2022, 49-27-6 record and a 6-game winning streak. Last season, they finished 50-23-9. They had a 9-game winning streak to end the regular season and won 14 of their last 15 games heading into the playoffs. So this is a team that has shown that, yeah, they can put together quite the winning streak. This is a team that's gone from outside of the playoffs, who's even thinking about playoffs, who others aren't going to make it, to, all right, so now the number 1 wild card, and they're not far out of being potentially second in the division. Absolutely crazy. So the winning streak starts away from home, and most of the wins have been away from Edmonton. They win in New Jersey 6-3. They led 2-1 after one. They trailed 3-2 after the second, scoring a bunch of goals in that third period. McDavid had a goal and an assist, and Calvin Pickard saved 23 out of 26 that night. Then they go into New York at MSG. They won 4-3. They trailed 1-0 after 2. So that's 2 straight games where they trailed after the second, and they won. McLeod with a goal and an assist, and Skinner, 31 saves on 34 shots. Then they go to San Jose. So you go from New York to San Jose. That's a bit of a trip. And they won 5-0. They led 4-0 after the first, and then they just rode it from there. Hyman had a goal and an assist in that game. Skinner saved all 25 shots for the shutout. Then, still in California, they win 3-2 in a shootout against the LA Kings, which is something that the Oilers in the 80s didn't have. There were no shootouts. There was no overtime for portions of that as well. And so who knows how long some winning streaks might have been if you'd had those rules in place then. In a shootout, the 80s Oilers, I think, would have been tough to stop. Anyway, they trailed 2-0 after the first in that game against LA. McDavid had a goal and an assist, and Skinner saved 26 out of 28. They go to Anaheim. They win 7-2, so that's sweeping the California trip. They led 5-1 after 2. Fogle had 2 goals and 3 assists in that game. Pretty good night for him. Pickard, 28 saves on 30 shots. Calvin Pickard has been a solid backup since the call-up, and because of the rough season that Jack Campbell was having in Edmonton. Then they come back home for the first of only 2 on this winning streak They won 5-2 against the Flyers, and I was impressed by that because when you've been on a long road trip that's taken you all the way across the continent, it says a lot. You can come home and beat a pretty good team in Philadelphia. They led 1-0 after one. They end up winning it 5-2. McDavid had 5 points, a goal and 4 assists, and Skinner saved 35 out of 37. Then at home against the Ottawa Senators, you can look at that and go, well, it's just the Sens, but it's a trap game, right? They won it 3-1. They led 1-0 after two. Hyman had the hat trick in that one. Skinner saves 29 out of 30. So another strong start for Skinner. And then they go out on the road again. They won 2-1 against Chicago, and this is the ugliest of the winning streak. It was tied 1-1 after one. McDavid gets the game-winning goal in the second. Skinner, 25 saves on 26 shots. And again, that is of the 10 games that they've won. I think that's the one that, oh man, it was close. That could have been the end of the winning streak. Then they go into Detroit. They win 3-2 in overtime, a game that was scoreless entering the third period. Bunch of scoring in the third, and then they get the win in the overtime. Nurse had the overtime winner at 1:20. Pickard, 15 saves on 17 shots there. So they limited the shots against them by the Detroit Red Wings. And then away from home, they win 2-1 in overtime against Montreal last night. That is a game that they trailed 1-0 after the second period. Bouchard gets the overtime winner at 2:01 of the overtime. Skinner saved 23 out of 24. So all the way through this winning streak, it's been pretty consistent, and it feels like there's a different hero on different nights. Yes, McDavid leads them in scoring during this streak. 5 goals, 11 assists, 16 points in 10 games. But what's interesting is he's not putting up exactly 2 points a game or higher, and he had been a 2 or better per game player coming into this season. And when we talk about guys like Yzerman, Gretzky, even to some extent Lemieux, when these guys get into championship form, it's less about what they do and it's more about what the team does. Maybe we're starting to see that with McDavid and his stats. Crosby's one too. That as he started playing the team game, it definitely seemed to help his team in the playoffs. And I'm not saying that because certain players are selfish. It's just you change how you play in order to get those victories in the playoffs. It is a completely different beast than the regular season. Maybe that's part of the reason why McDavid's numbers, while still excellent, aren't quite on par with previous years. Hyman, 8 goals, 4 assists, 12 points during this 10-game winning streak. Hyman has had an excellent run. Draisaitl, 7 goals, 4 assists. A bit of a surprise again. He's just barely above a point per game, but that's because you're getting help from elsewhere. Foegele, 3 goals, 7 assists during this run. McLeod, in the 9 games he's played, 9 points. 5 goals, 4 assists. Nugent Hopkins, 4 goals and 5 assists. Bouchard, 2 goals, 6 assists for Bouchard. Nurse, a goal and 5 assists, and Nurse is playing better defensively than he did last season. Ekholm has 6 assists during this winning streak, so that's a lot of production from your defense right there, too. Kane, just 2 goals and an assist in the 9 games he's played. So again, as I mentioned in recent days, it's interesting that Evander Kane, I knew I was going to say the wrong Kane, Evander Kane hasn't been productive in the way that I think you would expect when Edmonton's on a 10-game winning streak. Then you've got Ceci with 3 assists, Connor Brown with 2 assists. He's not allowed to get goals this year. Gagne's only played 1 game during the 10-game winning streak, had 2 assists in that. Ernie, 10 games, 1 goal. Kulak, 10 games, 1 goal as well. Desharnais and Ryan both have 1 assist during the 10-game winning streak. Hamblin and Janmark have played 10 games, no points. Kemp made his debut yesterday, did not record a point in that. But this is quite the list here for Edmonton, and I do think there's some good depth here. I know there's people who talk about they're only a 1 or 2 player team. It really feels different this year, and it feels different because McLeod, I think, has started to realize the potential he's had. I think people underestimate how good Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is and how good the blue line is, too. So Skinner's had a 7-0 record with a .951 save percentage. That's pretty good. I double-checked. It's pretty good. Pickard, 3-0 with a .904 save percentage. So Pickard's numbers not as good as Skinner's, but they don't have to be. They really don't need to be. Their goals for per game during this, 3.9. Their goals against per game during this run, 1.7. Also, really, really good. Outscoring your opponents 39-17 during a 10-game run, that's impressive. Their shots per game, 34.6. Shots against, 27.7. If you're out shooting your opponents by that kind of margin regularly, you're going to have some success. Their power play, 17.9%. It is a bit of a surprise, isn't it? They've won 10 in a row, and it's not the power play that's helping them do it as much as it's just really good play, and defensively they're good, and it shows in the penalty kill. 90.3% on the penalty kill during this 10-game winning streak. First period, they're outscoring their opposition 10-7. Second period, 10-4. Third period, 17-6. In overtime, 2-0. So there isn't a period you can look at and go, well, they need to improve that. I mean, they're only a +3 in the first over this 10 games, but it's still a plus. So there's not really a lot there that you can look at and say, well, look, this is not great. Plus, keep in mind that they trailed early in games against New Jersey and the Rangers, so that's going to skew the numbers maybe a little bit. They've been very good lately. 3 wins when they're trailing after the first or the second period during this 10-game run. So if they don't have the lead, they may have the lead before the night's out, and if they do have the lead, they're pretty much guaranteed to keep it. The one thing this team needs, the one thing that this team is missing is that elusive Stanley Cup. They are certainly in a very, very crowded club in Canada when it comes to franchises that have not won that elusive Stanley Cup as of yet. But they have a shot. And I think this team has the depth. I think it's there. The question mark becomes one of, do they have a goaltender that can take them through 4 rounds? A lot of Edmonton fans right now would say yes. But I would think that concern's probably there on some level, but we'll see. It should be very interesting to see how far this winning streak can go. Can they hit 12? Can they hit 15? I know there will be he's going to jinx it. He's done a video on it. It's very rare that winning streaks go beyond 10. It's very rare that winning streaks reach 10 at all. We saw 2 potential 10-game winning streaks fall apart. Seattle's got a 9-game winning streak. They may hit 10. They could lose that as well. But at any rate, the Oilers, the first 10-game winning streak of the season, I do believe. So kudos to the Oilers for that. And as I always say, 10-game winning streak, 10-game losing streak, they're both equally interesting to me. The Oilers have done a good job. In terms of teams in playoff spots, the Rangers, the Kings, 2 teams there that are in the playoffs. Detroit's not far out. And, of course, Philadelphia, playoff team. So are they all easy opponents? No, because New Jersey, while they're below the playoff line, they're not far out either. So it's been a fun trip. If you're a if you're a Montreal fan, Montreal's right down here. If you're an Oilers fan, it's been fun. But what do you think? Is this the year? Do you feel more optimistic than last season, or are you taking a more wait and see approach? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you've not done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.